Jai Narayan students. So we have already started the next chapter, third chapter from our supplementary reader, Footprints Without Feet, and the name of the chapter is The Midnight Visitor. We have already discussed what was there in the chapter about the characters, and we have started from page number 14. So today I request you all to open page number 15. Two lines of page number 14 was left. I'm going to explain that first. You are disillusioned, Oscible told him. But take cheer, my young friend. Now here he's telling that Fowler was disappointed. Disillusioned means disappointed. He's telling to Fowler that he was disappointed. Oscible told him, but take cheer, my young friend. Take cheer means be happy. So now he is telling him to be happy. Presently, you will see a paper, a quite important paper, for which several men and women have risked their lives. Now he is telling presently means soon. Soon, Oscible is telling Fowler that very soon he will be seeing a paper, a very important paper for which several men and women, they have already risked their lives. Come to me. Now here he is telling that important paper, it will be delivered to him. Some day soon that paper may well affect the course of history. Here he is telling कि some day later that paper may change what happens in history. In that thought is drama, is there not? Now he is telling कि isn't that thought quite exciting? Isn't it filled with excitement? Next line. As he spoke, Oscible closed the door behind him. Then he switched on the light. As he was speaking, Oscible he closed the door when he entered inside. Then he switched on the light. Next para. As the light came on, Fowler had his first authentic thrill of the day. As soon as the light was turned on, Fowler, the writer, he had his first real feeling of excitement in the whole day. Authentic thrill means real feeling of excitement. For halfway across the room, a small automatic pistol in his hand stood a man. Now for Fowler, why was that a real excitement? Because when the door was being closed from inside by Oscible, then Fowler noticed that halfway across the room, a small automatic pistol in his hand, a man was standing. Oscible blinked a few times. Oscible, he blinked his eyes for a few times. Max, he wheezed. Wheezed means breathed very noisily. So he called out the name of that person who was already there in the room of Mr. Oscible and Fowler. And his name was Max. He was the second secret agent. You gave me quite a start. I thought you were in Berlin. What are you doing here in my room? Oscible recognized the man as the second secret agent and his name was Max. Then he told that he had startled Mr. Oscible. Then Mr. Oscible is telling that he thought that Max was in Berlin. Then Mr. Oscible asked, what are you doing here in my room? Max was slender, a little less than tall, with features that suggested slightly the crafty, pointed countenance of a fox. Countenance of a fox means cunning look, like a fox. So here, the second secret agent, Max, is being described. He was slender. Slender means quite thin. A little less than tall. He was tall, but a little less than a tall person. And he was having the feature that a cunning fox has. He was having a crafty and pointed features. There was about him, aside from the gun, nothing especially menacing. Menacing means dangerous. Now he is telling, except that pistol, except that gun which he was having in his hand, nothing was dangerous. The report, he murmured, the report that is being brought to you tonight concerned some new missiles. Now, the report which Mr. Ossible was expecting was the thing which Max, the second secret agent, also wanted. So he called out that he wanted the report. The report that is being brought to you tonight. Now Max is revealing out that the report which Mr. Ossible was expecting was about some new missiles. I thought I would take it from you. It will be safer in my hands than in yours. Then Max told to Ossible that he thought that those reports should be in the hand of Max, as they will be much safer in his hands. Now all of you turn to page number 16. Ossible moved to an armchair and sat down heavily. Ossible, when he saw a person in his room who was demanding the same report which he was expecting, then he moved to an armchair there and sat down with force. Heavily means with force. I am going to raise the devil. Raise the devil is the phrase which means make a strong protest. So now he is telling, I am going to make a strong protest. That also with whom? He is telling, with the management this time. And you can bet on it, he said grimly. Grimly means seriously. So he is telling that he was going to make a strong protest with the management of that hotel. And he is telling that you can bet on it. This is the second time in a month that somebody has got into my room through that nuisance of a balcony. And then he uttered that this was the second time when somebody has entered into his room through that balcony. Fowler's eyes went to the single window of the room. Mr. Ossible showed towards that single window. It means he was indicating that balcony was there near the window. Fowler also, he started looking at the single window that was present in that room. It was an ordinary window against which now the night was pressing blackly. Pressing blackly means showing total darkness. So Fowler noticed that that was the only single window in that room. It was an ordinary window, and from that window only the darkness outside could be seen. Balcony, Max said with a rising inflection. Inflection here means change of tone. So he changed his tone and spoke out, balcony? No, a pass key. Pass key means a duplicate key. He answered he did not enter from the balcony. In fact, he was having a duplicate key, and because of that he entered into the room. I did not know about the balcony. It might have saved me some trouble had I known. Now here he is telling, if I would have known about the balcony, then I would have saved some of my troubles and time also. So, till here students, after saying that, this Ossible closed the door behind him and turned on the light. So as soon as the light was turned on, Fowler experienced his very first thrill of visiting a secret agent, as he saw a man with a pistol standing across the room. So Ossible recognized the man as Max and asked him what he was doing in his room. When he was supposed to be in Berlin, Max's features are being described. Here we come to know that Max was thin, a bit short, and his face looked a bit like that of a fox. He seemed harmless except the gun which he was having in his hand. Max said that he wanted the report about the missiles from which Ossible had been waiting, as he thought that he would be able to keep it more safely. This is said to create humor, as he just wanted the report for his own benefit. So Ossible sat down on a chair and started speaking that he would definitely have a fight with the management of the hotel, as this was the second time that somebody had climbed up from the balcony of the room. Then Fowler turned and looked towards the window and saw that it was an ordinary window, and outside the window it was quite dark. Max said that he had come through the master key and did not know about the balcony. Had he known about his work, then it would have saved some of his troubles. Had he known about his work, would have become much more easier. Now student, once again open page number 16. Now here I am again reading it. It's not my balcony, Osable said with extreme irritation. Then once again Osable told that the balcony was not his. It belongs to the next apartment. That balcony was of the next apartment. He glanced explanatory at Fowler. You see, he said, though he was telling this thing to Max, but he was looking at Fowler as if he was explaining Fowler. He told, you see, he said, this room used to be a part of a large unit, and the next room through that door there used to be the living room. Now he is giving the explanation that the room in which Osable was living, that room was supposed to be it was a part of a larger room, and the other apartment, the next room which it was there through that door, that room used to be the living room, and that it had a balcony, and that living room was having the balcony which extends under my window. Now he told that it was not his balcony, but the balcony belonged to the next room, and that it extended up to his window. Now you can get onto it from the empty room 2 doors away, and somebody did last month. The management promised to block it off, but they haven't. Now here he is explaining that anyone who wished to enter in Osable's room would enter from the empty rooms that was 2 doors down. And now he is telling that somebody attempted to enter into his room via balcony last month, and then the management promised to block that balcony, but now he is telling that they haven't done it. Max glanced at Fowler, who was standing stiffly not far from Osable. Now Max gave a look at Fowler, who was standing near Osable, and waved the gun with a commanding gesture. Please sit down. Then Max waved his gun, moved his gun and made a gesture and asked Fowler to sit down. He said, we have a wait of half an hour, I think. Max told Fowler to sit down, as possibly after half an hour the report was to arrive. So he told possibly they have to wait for half an hour. 31 minutes, Osable said moodily. Moodily here means sadly. Osable said, no, not half an hour. It is exactly 31 minutes. The appointment was for 12:30. Now he is telling the appointment which he had made with the person who will deliver him the report was for 12:30. I wish I knew how you learned about the report, Max. Now he was telling, I want to know, Max, that how you came to know about the report. The little spy smiled evilly, and that Max, a spy, he smiled in an evil manner. And we wish we knew how your people got the report. Now he is telling, Max is telling that they also wished to know how his people got the report. It means Osable's people got the report. But no harm has been done. I will get it back tonight. What is that? Who is at the door? But then Max told that there is no harm. That report will be in my hand tonight. And then only something was to be heard. He is asking the question, now what is that? Who is at the door? It means somebody was tapping at the door. Fowler jumped at the sudden knocking at the door. Fowler got scared when he heard the knocking at the door. Osable just smiled, whereas the secret agent Osable, he did not jump. In fact, he smiled, and he told that will be the police. He told that possibly Police is there on the door. He said, I thought that such an important paper as the one we are waiting for should have a little extra protection. Now he adds on that such an important paper that they have been waiting and that was arriving to Mr. Ausable that very night, that paper should have some extra protection. I told them to check on me to make sure everything was all right. Now he's telling, I only told the police to come and check the room and make sure whether everything was all right or not. So now, students, till now we studied that Ausable continued that it was not his balcony through which people had tried coming in, but was of the next apartment. He then started explaining things to Fowler that his room used to be a part of a large unit and the room next to his room used to be a living room. Then he said that it had the balcony that came till the window of his own room. Then he said that to climb up to his room, one needed to go to the empty room which was 2 rooms away from his own room and climb up the balcony. Then he said that somebody did climb up the balcony last month as well. He also told Fowler that the management had told him that they would surely get it blocked, but they still hadn't done. So Max looked at Fowler, who was standing near Ausable. Max, he asked Fowler to sit down as there was still half an hour for the report to reach Ausable. Ausable joked that it was not 30 minutes but 31 minutes that were left for the report to reach to them. The report was supposed to come in around 12:30 at night. Ausable said that he wished he had known how Max had come to know about the report coming in. Max also smiled wickedly and said that he also wished to know how Ausable and his team had got the report. He added that nothing had happened to the report because he would take it from Ausable straight to his team. Then suddenly a knock is heard on the door and then Max panics. Fowler is also scared by the knock on the door. Ausable replied to Max's question about who was on the door that it must be the police because he had asked them to check on him after some times, as he thought that the report he was about to receive was important and definitely required extra attention. He had asked the police to check on him after every few minutes so as to ensure that everything was all right. Now once again back to page number 16. Max bit his lips nervously. The knocking was repeated. Now Max got nervous and the knocking was once again repeated. What will you do now, Max? Ausable asked. Ausable now asked Max that what will he do? If I do not answer the door, they will enter anyway. The door is unlocked and they will not hesitate to shoot. Ausable is asking, what will he do now? He is telling that if he doesn't answer to their call, they will enter inside the room anyways, as the door was unlocked. And then if they enter in, they won't hesitate to shoot. Max's face was black with anger as he backed swiftly means went back quietly towards the window. Now Max was quite angry as he went back very quietly towards the window. He swung a leg over the sill. He kept one of his legs on the window. Send them away, he warned. I will wait on the balcony. He told Ausable to send the policeman away as he would be waiting for their going on the balcony. Send them away or I'll shoot and take my chance. He's telling, if you don't send them away, I will shoot. And that will depend on his luck. Likha hai na? Take my chance. It means depend on his luck. The knocking at the door became louder and the voice was raised. Mr. Rossible, Mr. Rossible. The knocking at the door, it now became louder, and the voice was also coming now. Mr. Rossible, Mr. Rossible. Now all of you turn to page number 17. Keeping his body twisted so that his gun still covered the fat man and his guest, the man at the window grasped the frame with his free hand to support himself. Now, Mr. Max, he was climbing on the window, but still he twisted himself and still kept his gun faced towards the fat man. Fat man means towards Mr. Rossible and his guest, Fowler. The man at the window grasped the frame. The man at the window means Max. He took hold of the frame of the window with his free hand, the second hand in which pistol was not there. With that hand, he took hold of the window frame so as to support himself. Then he swung his other leg up and over the windowsill. And after holding the frame with his free hand, he kept his other leg also on the windowsill. The doorknob turned. Now, as the door was unlocked, the knob turned. Swiftly, Max pushed with his left hand to free himself from the sill and dropped to the balcony. When the doorknob turned, then Max, he swiftly pushed with his left hand to free himself from the sill. Means he freed himself from that window and jumped onto the balcony. And then as he dropped, he screamed once shrilly. Shrilly means at a very high pitch. As he dropped down on the balcony, he shouted at a very high pitch. The next paragraph, the door opened and a waiter stood there with a tray, a bottle and 2 glasses. When the doorknob was opened, then entered the waiter of that hotel. The door was opened and the waiter was having a tray along with a bottle and 2 glasses. Here is the drink you ordered for when you returned, he said, and set the tray on the table. The waiter told that he had brought the drink which Mr. Rossible has ordered while he was returning. He said and set the tray on the table. Deftly means very neatly and skillfully, uncorked the bottle and left the room. The waiter, he very neatly kept the tray on the table and uncorked the bottle, and after uncorking the bottle, he left the room. White-faced Fowler stared after him. White-faced means getting pale with fear. Now Fowler was very fearful. He stared at Mr. Rossible, but he stammered, "The police?" he asked when the waiter entered and kept the bottle and glasses and left. Then he stared at Mr. Rossible and asked, "Where is the police?" There was no police, Rossible sighed. Rossible told, "Police was not there. Only Henry, whom I was expecting." Then he told that on the door only Henry was there, the waiter of the hotel, and whom he was expecting. "But won't that man come out on the balcony?" Fowler began. Fowler was still terrified. He asked, "Won't that man, Mr. Max, come out from the balcony?" "No," said Rossible. "He won't return. You see, my young friend, there is no balcony." He told no, Max is not going to return. He won't return. Then he told to Mr. Fowler, "See, my friend, there is no balcony in my room." It means that Mr. Max, he jumped from the 6th floor down to the ground floor, and that was the shrill which was heard when he left the window frame and jumped on the balcony. So in this way, Mr. Rossible proved that he was very clever. He was having sense. That's all, students. I hope. Okay. So now Max became nervous about the situation as the knocking on the door it continued, and Rossible asked him what would be next. Rossible added that the door was unlocked, and if he did not let him open the door, the police would enter anyways. And then They would definitely shoot if they saw him with a gun. Max got angered with the situation and ran very quickly. The knocking on the door grew louder and someone from outside called out, "Mr. Rossable, Mr. Rossable." Max was sitting on the window sill and was facing inside so that his gun could still be pointed towards Mr. Rossable and Fowler. Max then held the window sill and sat at the sill with both legs outside. The doorknob turned and Max thought that the police would be coming in. So he jumped from the sill to fall on the balcony, and when he fell, a loud and shrill scream was heard. When the door opened, a waiter stood at the door with a tray, a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. He came in and kept everything on the table and said that it was the bottle that Rossable had ordered for. He opened the cork of the bottle very skillfully and then left. Fowler was totally confused. He did not understand what had happened and stammered that where was the police? To which Rossable replied that there was no police and that he knew that it was Harry, the waiter, whom he was expecting. Then again Rossable asked about the man, Fowler asked about the man outside the window, to which Rossable replied that he would never come back as there was no balcony and that Max had fallen on the ground from the top floor of the building. So, students, this was all about the midnight visitor. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. Thank you.